Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of reacting to how Scientology covers up crimes. So, how does Scientology cover up crimes? In this episode, we are reacting to what Mike Rinder has put on the public record about how Scientology goes about covering crimes. So please leave your questions in the comments below. If you have a question, if you want to make a point, please do like and subscribe to the channel to help us continue to expose these unthinkable acts that have been normalized at an industrial size scale. So every one of your likes does help the algorithm know that there are people wanting to have these type of conversations and put them on the public record, and that there are advocates out there that do side with the fact that literal children cannot consent to whatever religious experience Mike Rinder and the rest of the executives inside of these hotels were having for themselves at the expense of all the hundreds of thousands of minors implicated in getting exposed and getting brought into a culture of a collective of adults, both parents and executives, that fully went with the pitch that all kids were not kids, that all kids were an ageless Satan that had been floating around for a very long time, and that therefore it was an insult to be called a child inside of those hotels. They were doing us a favor by not calling us an animal and telling us that we were an ageless spirit, even when our body was not of the age they were purporting to have us be. So please leave your questions in the comments below, and let's react to this next segment.
Out
Right.
that we're handling, because that's what happened with the Jane Does as well. All of their Scientology friends were called in, and those friends were told that they had said something different, that they were taking responsibility, like they were told lies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually, like I said, the first thing is, well, the easy answer is you don't have all the data. I do, but I can't tell you it. But believe me, this is being taken care of. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to do or say anything about it. In fact, do not do or say anything about this.
The church is handling it.
The church is handling this.
Okay.
Scientology is dealing with this, and it will be appropriately handled by the people whose job it is to handle this, and that's not you.
That's OSA.
That's OSA.
Appropriately handled. By all means, Mike Rinder, tell us what appropriately handled means by Scientology. How are admissions of, including but not limited to whatsoever? You know that there's plenty other things that we could be bringing up, but let's just keep to these two subjects right now that are on the table. How is this appropriately handled inside of a hotel of which you were a board member of this 501c? How did you not know that this belonged getting called out to the authorities? How do you reconcile the fact that with you having attorneys of the utmost caliber on full-time retainers cashing to advise to ensure that your establishment was not violating the law, to ensure that your establishment wasn't covering up for, including but not limited to, this other crime? So these two crimes alone, we would love to understand how OSA was appropriately handling anything. Just these two things right here. Just these two. Type it up really quickly because we would love to understand how that was being appropriately addressed, literally.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
So this is how, this is what gets done. Contain, contain, contain. Make
Mhm.
sure that nobody else knows. Make sure nobody else is talking about it. If
This is what gets done. Is this what gets done in the North Pole? Is this what gets done in where? Were you ever there doing it? Or was this stuff that was getting done somewhere else that you have, expert opinions about, but have nothing to do with you being a willing participant of setting it up to make sure that any of these things could be done? I mean, in what world did you not ask the IRS to make you a 501c so you could all be hiding this type of information for as long as it's been hidden under the pretense that this was all just some, jolly old religion that all kids should be exposed to at an industrial size scale? Contain, contain, contain. Why were crimes perpetrated against children, Mike Rinder, contained? And why you and everyone else in those organizations that have the power and backup of the police on speed dial, literally your literal lapdogs that were kneecapped to do anything effective to start actually addressing actual criminal activity, never get called, ever. That's what needs to make sense.
if there's a bunch of people that already know, then every one of them has to be individually seen and shut down.
And they're
Like-
all ordered by their church not to talk about it.
Absolutely.
By their church, Leah, or by their hotel? By their church or by their hotel to which they have a paid membership to. You could keep calling it whatever delusionary thing you want to call it. But what y'all had was a hotel of disgusting depravities and disgusting dysfunction, in case you have not noticed that at all for yourself.
Absolutely. And we saw that, we've heard the story of what happened with the Burbank child facility and how that went down.
Yeah, we did hear that one, Mike Rinder. We did actually hear that. And breaking news, we heard that not by you. Imagine that. That you have not actually broken a shred of news, because all you ever do is, never tell us more than what we already know. Always just highlight, underline, and circle in a million circles the stuff that's already being regurgitated. Why do you keep offering nothing new to the conversations while purporting that you really want to be so helpful? Because that's what we would love to understand. In what world are you being helpful by not offering anything other than regurgitated back whatever Leah Remini's telling you? Oh yeah, that's how we did it. That's how they did it. That's how it was being done by Kristen Catano and all these other people, and Julian Schwartz. All these people did all kinds of things. Where were you? When did you find out about these type of crimes? What did you do with these type of crimes, Mike Rinder? Did you have no crimes of this nature showing up in your in basket, in your daily reports, in your weekly reports, in your perimeter council? Plenty of places where you would have been informed, or not.
And the parents are all called in and don't say anything and don't cooperate with anybody. And so they can't gather enough evidence to bring any credible charge, so they dodged the bullet.
Were they dodging a bullet or were they obstructing, in fact, justice, Mike Winder? Were the parents that you had called in, whoever you use, whoever you instructed, because you know what? You usually didn't want to do that level of instruction. You had minions underneath you, did you not? Was Julian a minion of you? Was Julian ordered ever by you to go and speak to parents and implicate them in obstructing justice? Implicate them in that literal crime. Not only was their child essayed, not only did you all find out about how the child was essayed exactly, not only were you making money on it, selling, including but not limited to programs, amends, all manner of ways that you and the rest of your executive buddies at that 501c3 do find resourceful methods for y'all to be what? Benefiting out of what? Out of criminal activity perpetrated on kids? Damn. Damn, damn, damn. In what world are you not repudiating that today? You're a full-grown man with a ton of intellect. And right about now, it's giving you're playing dumb on purpose. So don't get insulted. Actually come clean. Instead of getting insulted, instead of getting all about you, the little victim that everybody wants to, victimize. We don't want to victimize anything, Mike Rinder. We need the facts exposed, and you have them, and you know them, and you continue to play dumb to the benefit of no one else but yourself, apparently.
Right, except one, right?
Right.
Yes. Anyway, and that wasn't enough. And because they were babies,
They can't testify or say anything.
They can't speak on their own behalf. I don't even.
Because they were babies, they can't testify or say anything, Mike Rinder. Did you really check your tone right there? Because I would advise you to rewatch this video for yourself and watch your tone. Because we were babies, you are exactly right. Because we were babies, because we were told that getting essayed was a touch assist, that getting essayed was a nerve assist, that getting essayed was an ethics handling, that getting essayed was a session, including but not limited to getting essayed could be TRs, getting essayed could be upper index, getting essayed could be all manner of euphemistic terms that hide the nature of the abuse. Yes or no. And of course, as babies, you better believe we could not testify. Imagine we are no longer babies. Imagine we're in our literal halfway through our lives. And yet we're still being silenced. We're still being told that, we're missing a lot of information and a lot of data. How do you sleep at night? What type of drug do you take to make it all disappear in your consciousness? Literally.
Even know if they know anything happened to them.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So then what happens, Mike?
Then the lawyers.
You saw his body language there, you guys. You saw him getting his withholds restimulated in real time. Right, Mike Rinder, or wrong?
Contacted, depending on what the circumstances are. But the first step after that is, well, it all happens concurrently. It's not like one thing and then the next thing. This all goes into motion instantly.
Okay.
The lawyers.
Oh, look at that, you guys. It all goes into motion instantly. And yes, if you were wondering if lawyers were called, According to Mike Rinder, lawyers are called and consulted.
Are contacted, and some measure of legal input is obtained, and
some measure of legal input is obtained, Mike Rinder. In what world do you come up with that level of straight-faced dishonesty? As if you don't know the subject you're covering. You're being confronted on, specifically, was just brought up. Babies at a care center where they were being essayed. So what type of legal sort of something was obtained when the attorneys were called in to do a cleanup? And who was calling those attorneys? Were you ever in those calls? Were you ever involved in the handling of those calls? Were you ever advising? Were you ever masterminding? Were you ever cleaning up? Were you ever running a shred of crisis management over that type of potential flap? Yes or no?
you know, typically what happens is, if it is a very serious matter, some outside counsel is hired, some outside lawyer that has some connection to a Scientology lawyer some way. Usually it was the in-house lawyers, Elliot Abelson or Rick Moxon or one of those guys, who would reach out to one of the Scientology big time attorneys, because Scientology hires lawyers at big law firms.
Right. Of course. The lawyers were called. Who was calling the lawyers, Mike Rinder? Which of your minion picks up the phone and says, oh, hi. Yeah, we really have a self-admitted felon here that just told us they did A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what should we do? Okay, can you get us another? I mean, again, with what type of straight face do you say, oh, this happened over there, that happened over there? Who was pulling those strings? Who was masterminding that? Who was behind the call? Who was expecting to be briefed on what was going on with that type of flap? Because that's what you were literally getting off on. That type of power, wasn't it? Or was it something else?
In order to give credibility to Scientology and credibility in the courts where they are appearing, and fishes around to find someone that would be suitable to deal with whatever the situation is. And that's done for two reasons. One, so that there is a buffer and an attorney-client privilege on the information. And you see, I mentioned this previously when we were talking about James Barber, and I said, look at this. These reports about what this guy is doing are all saying attorney-client privilege, but they're not written by an attorney or to an attorney. They're written by a Scientologist to another Scientology organization or person in the organization. They're not actually attorney-client privilege, but because they don't have a cover sheet on them, you don't know who it went to. So you can claim after the fact, oh, well, this was me reporting to my lawyer. But
that's purposeful, right, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. That then gives a shield to the information that then starts being collected about what really happened.
Isn't that great, you guys? Breaking news. Breaking news. That all it takes is to type a fake letter to a fake attorney that doesn't exist to create, what is it that you're calling it, Mike? Yeah. Client attorney privilege. And imagine that he knew there was no attorney. Imagine that they all knew, his little proteges in that office, that were doing this dirty work on behalf of Mike Rinder when he was what was it called? The watchdog dog committee chairman of OSA, the highest, most executive post anyone could ever achieve, commanding that exact organization. Right or wrong, Mike Rinder? Right or wrong?
And who
Right.
really knew about it and what really went down.
Right.
And then the next thing that happens is monitoring of media interest, or
Mhm.
these days also internet interest. Is anybody mentioning this? Is it coming up? Are we receiving calls from the media? And if so, preparing a statement that basically says this is all just lies, that this is not what Scientology is about, then, you know, whatever is appropriate at the moment.
What would be appropriate at the moment, Mike Rinder? With what kind of straight face, yet again, for the 100th time, can you really purport that there is an appropriate statement someone can type to really wash away, to really distance themselves from self-admitted criminal acts committed on the minors that you had ensnared inside of your hotel chain 501c3, that you got the IRS to hook you up with tax write-offs? Appropriate statement denying what you already knew was 1000% true. What type of pathological liar psychopath are you? Sitting there with your Papa Smurf little grin and your Papa Smurf little blue shirt, and oh yes, this is done and that is done.
But whatever is appropriate will be what is considered to be the thing that prevents Scientology from looking bad.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. Now I get it. Okay, so whatever makes Scientology look bad. And in what world would Scientology really be looking bad if they go, oh, hi, LAPD. Yeah, there's a self-admitted man here that just admitted to a bunch of felonies because he's been hurting children. And, you know, we would love your help to make sure that he sees justice. Because that would be really great, LAPD. That the man that we know committed criminal acts actually sees justice. Can you help us with that? In what world is that making your so-called 501c sham look bad? Versus, oh, hi, LAPD, let me just waste your time and let me just pretend that I'm being victimized while I'm victimizing children. And, oh, yeah, never mind. We're not going to tell you about the felons that we are finding for ourselves inside of here because that might make us look bad, and we would not want that. So double check your language and see if there's an appropriate way to obstruct justice, or if you're just, once again, doing L1 Hubbard's PR and all his proteges for free because you just literally cannot help yourself to be wanting to work for free to really save a world. Imagine.
Whatever that statement is, that's the statement that will be made.
These are Scientologists with ex-Scientologists who were kicked out. They're bitter apostates. They have an axe to grind. They're religious bigots. They were thrown out for unethical behavior and couldn't keep up to our ethical standards. And this is their way to resurrect their careers or their names or their whatever.
Way to make it about yourself, Leah. Literally, way to make it about yourself as crimes are getting covered up. Because in case you didn't notice, that is the title of your video. So please, by all means, take a look at what in the hell you're saying and blabbing about right about now.
whatever the hell.
Right.
Okay.
And then the next thing that happens is investigations.
Okay.
Investigations into whoever it is that is the victim, whoever it is that may have complained or created this situation outside.
Wrong, Mike Rinder. The victim, you really want to call it the victim? When was a child that was essayed inside of those hotels ever referred to as a victim? When they were being sent to ethics to take responsibility for violating an out to the rule. So in what world was there a victim? Because y'all didn't consider minors that had been essayed victims. Yes or no? Were minors essayed victims according to L. Ron Hubbard, or did they pull it in? And according to who you pitched to the IRS was a very religious man in nature, your little daddy figure that you are so goo-goo gaga for. Because that's what you need to make sense on the public record. Really quick, type it up.
Side of the Scientology world, or even inside the Scientology world. In the case of the Masterson victims, they were all investigated. They were investigated to find out what, and we'll talk about this in a little while, but find out what they had done that caused them to become a victim. And if there is someone outside of Scientology that is involved in this in some way, they're investigated to find out what well, I made mention of that in the Barber thing too. Like one of his victims had been seeing a psychologist, so the investigation then becomes find out all about the shrink and find out about and get the dirt on what's happening with this victim.
With this victim, Mike Rinder, again, you sanitizing this ad nauseum, making us sick, making us disgusted. When were children that were essayed inside of those hotels ever treated as the victims that they were? When? When did that happen? And by all means, clarify, type for yourself. Write a whole entire encyclopedic blog post. As long as you throw word salad in your little legalese mumbo jumbo that apparently has taken you very far in life. Because all you've ever had to do in life is pretend that you're saying something while all the idiots buy your little pitch. That couldn't be more disgustingly, falsely sanitized for all the wrong reasons. You're being asked to come clean for once in your literal life, Mike Rinder. And you are making it about you being victimized and traumatized. And what do you think the kids that experience this inside of the hotels that were told that were not victims felt like? As a criminal act was committed against them, as you, Debbie Cook, Marty Rathbun, Kathy True, Kristen Catano, Donatella, Sarah Heller, Glenn Stylo, and every other one of your minions at OSA. The ones that you were controlling, the ones that you had full oversight over, they couldn't do anything without telling you, yes or no. They couldn't go behind your back, yes or no. They couldn't not CC you on something that you really could have gotten in trouble for, yes or no. Because you know what the right answer is. But you also play dumb here and pretend that, as long as you regurgitate all the dumb questions that Leah poses to you, because she couldn't be more gullible, she couldn't be more manipulatable, she couldn't be more eating out of the palm of your hand, really, waiting to get some answers. Exactly how you like it. Give me softball answers. Let me just regurgitate whatever garbage comes out of my mouth by someone that has no critical thinking skills of their own for whatever in the hell reason. So the minute you can make that make sense, type yourself a real quick pitch and make yourself make sense. Try it. This is actually a dare. We dare you to make it make sense. We really, literally dare you. Use all the brain powers. Consult with all your top attorneys and actually figure out a way that you can start making a shred of sense. By all means, try it.